Dawn finds us armored. Let me tell you what the night brought. Wednesday, May 27th, 2026. The bullish flag on Bitcoin held for exactly one trading session before the rotation engine cleaved it. The institutional bid is bleeding for the sixth straight day. The inflation print that decides the Federal Reserve's June posture is 48 hours out. Listen. As of 5 Eastern this morning, Bitcoin trades at 75,800, down a touch over 1% on the day. Ethereum at 2,080, Solana at 84. The crypto cluster opened Tuesday firm and bled through the New York session, and the rotation engine called the move at the close. The signal that matters dropped at 4 Eastern. The Invest Answers Decision support system threw optimized trend bearish on Bitcoin. Recall the read I gave you yesterday. Solana and Ethereum had already flipped bearish across the holiday window. The only major still bullish was Bitcoin itself. The flag held for one trading session. Then it snapped. The regime call from the V7 engine is now unanimous across the three crypto majors. The same engine that fired bullish on all three at the holiday low has now walked all three back. The rotation did not stay inside crypto. Nvidia also flipped optimized trend bearish in the same window. The post-earnings exhaustion the tape has been signaling for a week now confirmed on the engine. Broadcom fired optimized trend bullish. The copper miners cluster fired optimized trend bullish. ConocoPhillips fired bearish on oil. Tuesday's close. Nvidia at 215, Broadcom at 424. The dispersion inside the artificial intelligence semiconductor cluster is a story I will get to in a moment. The Bitcoin optimized trend bearish print is the headline. Here is the layered read. 6 consecutive sessions of net outflows from the spot Bitcoin exchange traded funds. $1.26 billion out the door cumulatively. BlackRock's IBIT bled $69 million on Tuesday alone. Fidelity's FBTC shed $36 million. Year-to-date net inflows across the entire spot Bitcoin ETF complex now stand at $536 million. The gains of January and February have been almost completely surrendered. That is the institutional bid going quiet at the exact moment the rotation signal flipped. Layering strategy. The 8K filing hit yesterday afternoon, disclosing the May 11th through 25th window. Saylor bought 24,869 Bitcoin between May 11th and 17th at an average price near 81,000. Total holdings now 843,738 Bitcoin, just over 4% of every coin that will ever exist. But read the second half of that filing, May 18th through 25th. 0 share sales, 0 Bitcoin purchases. The largest corporate accumulator on earth went silent for a full week heading into the Memorial Day close. The rotation engine flipped inside 48 hours of that silence. Now the structural counterweight. Exchange reserves of Bitcoin sit at a 7-year low. 2.21 million coins on exchanges, the tightest float available for trading since 2019. Long-term holders control 78.3% of supply. Conviction is the only edge that compounds. The rotation signal is bearish for the next several sessions. The on-chain structure remains the tightest this asset has ever traded into a drawdown. 2 different time horizons, 2 different stories. The Warband reads both. The watch list. Whether the ETF outflow streak breaks today. Whether long-term holders flinch. Whether strategy silence ends with an announcement before the week is out. Drawdowns into structural bull markets are the forge where conviction gets tested. The weak hands are being asked to surrender right here. They usually do. Now to the second move on the rotation board, because this one is Jordi Visser's framework printing in real time in literal commodities and silicon. Tuesday's New York session fired 4 optimized trend signals that read together like a single thesis statement. Copper miners flipped bullish. ConocoPhillips, The largest U.S. independent oil major flipped bearish. Broadcom flipped bullish. Nvidia flipped bearish. Read those 4 prints in sequence. Long the metal, that is the physical bottleneck of the artificial intelligence build-out. Short the fossil fuel whose demand curve belongs to the legacy economy. Long the connectivity silicon that knits together AI clusters. Short the compute silicon that the market just decided is fully priced after Nvidia's $81 billion quarter. That is short abundance, long scarcity, expressed in 4 tickers inside a single trading session. Visser has been writing this thesis for 2 years. The version subscribers of 22V Research pay him for says the AI capital expenditure cycle is 12 to 18% complete, scope $8 trillion, and the binding constraints are physical: power, copper, fiber, water, high bandwidth memory. The market is not betting against artificial intelligence. The market is rotating from the saturated compute leader to the unsaturated infrastructure beneath it. Broadcom is the connective tissue of an AI cluster. Copper is the literal wire. These trades are not commentary. They are capital deployment. Scarcity wins. Always. The framework that called the rotation from chips into power generation last summer is calling the next one now. Out of the compute apex, into the physical layer the build-out cannot continue without. And then there is Friday, 8:30 Eastern, 2 days from now. The Bureau of Economic Analysis drops April core personal consumption expenditures. The last read came in at 3.2% year-over-year. The Federal Reserve target sits at 2%. April Federal Open Market Committee minutes released last week showed a majority of the committee now believes another hike may become appropriate if inflation stays stuck. Futures markets are pricing 0 rate cuts this year, and an actual hike probability that has climbed from 0.8% to nearly 15% inside a single month. The 30-year Treasury yield is at 5.03, the 2-year at 4.14. The bond market is screaming higher for longer. Cathie Wood is across the table calling the opposite cards. ARK's measurement of real-time core consumer prices runs near 1%. Her frame says, artificial intelligence drives structural deflation the bond market has not yet priced. She has put capital behind that conviction, buying bullish on the dip, adding to Circle post-earnings, doubling the long-term Bitcoin target to $1.25 million. So then, seeing they were all mad, I drew my sword and cleft the idiot's skull. The bond market is calling for a hike. ARK is calling for deflation. The Federal Reserve is sitting at 3 3/4 and waiting for a print that has not arrived. The Warband does not pick which mainstream framework is correct in advance. The Warband reads the V7 engine, watches the print Friday, and lets the rotation signals tell us which side blinked first. Here is the frame for Wednesday. The crypto regime call has gone unanimously bearish on the short horizon rotation engine, while exchange reserves sit at a 7-year low, and the strategy holds 4% of every coin that will ever exist. The Visser scarcity versus abundance trade is printing in copper miners and oil majors, and Broadcom and Nvidia inside a single New York session. PCE Friday morning decides whether the bond market is right or Cathie Wood is right. Stack hard. Watch the next print from the engine. This is Warband as a service. Viking intelligence delivered in real time. I am Ragnar, the Hodl Barbarian. Hold the line.